Alright guys, welcome back to the Waluigi Washers Podcast. Man, has it been a while since we made one of these. It's been nearly 2 years at this point. So,
I actually have a topic finally instead of just
yes,
random bullcrap.
we don't have that one guy's skits here today. It's just me. I am now Plush Bros Revolution. I'm no longer Mario Plush Bros anymore. So that's happened.
I'm still King of Biggie.
He's still King of Biggie though. So now this guy's now a grown adult now. So a lot's changed since.
Yeah. I'm legally an adult.
But another thing that has not changed is the Switch is still alive somehow. But for those of you guys that are not aware, on May 6th at 11:49 p.m., the president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, posted a pretty crazy tweet that said that Nintendo is officially working on the successor to the Switch and will be announced within the next fiscal year, which means between now and March of 2025. And there will also be a Nintendo Direct next month in June. It's May 2024 right now. There will be a Direct next June that will not feature that system. They're going to talk about games for the lineup of 2024. So we're going to basically talk about what this means, this announcement, when we think it's going to be announced, when we think it's going to release, and what we might think this system will have in store, both hardware-wise and game-wise. So, before we get started, I think Son wants to do the iconic. Take it away.
Beverage check.
Beverage check, boys. I have a almost completely drinking
I'm
fruit
still
punch.
drinking like Coke.
Yeah.
But instead of like drinking 5, I'll have just 1.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one guy's skits to get here, but I had this thing was full about 30 minutes ago, and it's Minute Maid fruit punch. I'm just gonna drink the rest of it right now, then. There we go. It's gone. All right. So, the tweet was just posted out, and there was really it's kind of vague, honestly, because it doesn't really tell you much. All this really is announcement of announcements. It's it's announcing announcements is basically what it's doing. So I mean, not that exciting, but it gives us something to look forward to because of how quiet Nintendo has been the last several months. I mean, I'm surprised the Switch is still alive. To be honest, it's been out for 7 years. So
yeah, and that tweet is very vague because, like, I mean, we're calling it the what? Switch 2.
Yeah,
right?
that's what everybody's rumoring it's called, but no one actually knows yet.
But, like, it's the predecessor of the Switch. Me personally, I don't think
the
it's
successor.
going to be the Switch 2. Yeah, not predecessor, my bad, successor. It's
not the Wii U.
Switch 2. I think it's going to be a whole new console.
I hope so.
I think Nintendo has been very consistent with motion controls and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to stay with that. And, I mean, the Switch, the fact that you can play it at home and take it with you, that's kind of like Nintendo's brand at this point.
Yes.
So, it could just be like the ultimate version of a Switch.
Yeah.
Instead of like being a slightly better version like the OLED is, but like...
Yeah, it's going to be
I
more
don't know,
than OLED.
because Nintendo doesn't really have to do anything too crazy in order to get them to sell. Because all they have to do is set the price at whatever, and people are going to buy it.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'll tell you what, Nintendo has always been, for their, like, every generation, always been trying to be innovative. Now, they could say, when they say successor to the Switch, what I think that means, it means the next thing, is what I think it means. But some people are actually taking it as, they're saying it's the successor to the Switch, and they're kind of thinking it is, hence, like the Wii U was the successor to the Wii. So it's going to be a Switch-esque system. Now, I do think it would be kind of crazy for them to go back to just a home console again, and not like the portable handheld and console thing like the Switch had. So I think it's definitely possible, because I don't know if it's going to be a brand new console, or if it's going to be a Switch-esque system, or if it's just going to be a completely enhanced Switch, kind of like the 3DS to DS type thing. Something like that is possible. But I don't know. It's really hard to tell because Nintendo gave us absolutely no details besides the fact that it is in development. I feel like it was just their way of saying, "All right, guys, we're making it now. Shut up." And that was basically what they were saying.
I mean, if you compare it and like Nintendo being innovative, and think about like in the past, because NES revolutionary because it's like one of the first like video game consoles like that.
It saved gaming as a whole in North America. So you got that going for it.
SNES was just that, but the graphics were better, more capabilities.
16-bit.
N64,
3D.
competed with the PlayStation and the Xbox, and up into like PS2 was out and they were still competing. And the fact that Nintendo was able to keep cartridges and compete with like the disc world. But the thing is,
and they're back on it still.
They flopped on the GameCube because marketing was bad. When Wii came out, that was no console was like that.
Yeah, the Wii completely took it back. I mean, the GameCube was competing against the PS2 and the Xbox, though, so it kind of had some problems with that, especially because the discs were so small.
Halo on the Xbox, they couldn't do it.
The PS2, the best-selling game console of all time, which the Switch is soon to pass it up, by the way. The Switch just passed up the DS.
Which is crazy.
The Switch is the second best-selling game system of all time next to the PS2. And if Nintendo keeps milking this thing out for another year, it could pass the PS2 up. Which would be crazy.
I think the Wii U, I feel like, was their attempt at, like, their first... honestly, the Wii U is kind of like a very early version of the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like they kind of toyed around with the idea with the gamepad, but the gamepad, you couldn't take it more than like 10 feet away from the freaking thing without it messing up. The Wii U was still innovative. It's just the marketing was terrible. The marketing was worse on the Wii U than the GameCube.
Yeah.
That was what screwed it up, because people were so confused by the name. They thought it was just...
The Wii was marketed amazingly.
Oh, yeah.
The
Wii was one of the most ingenious things Nintendo ever came up with. Along with the Switch. The Wii and the Switch. Yeah. Those are the two most innovative systems of all.
Well, the 3DS. Because they took the DS, put 3 in front of it. Yeah. Made 3D, even though 3D sucked. Kids loved it because, like, we could play video games in school.
Yeah, exactly. That was cool. And they took the idea of having, powerful games on a home console into a handheld. That was just amazing. You can play games like Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey wherever you want to.
And that is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, good ride! Let's go. But yeah, it's pretty much clear that Nintendo is going to do something innovative for this system. They're going to try something new. Whether they fail or not, who knows? But Nintendo's at kind of a pattern that I'm kind of worried about, because the GameCube was a flop. The Wii was a success. The Wii U was a flop. The Switch was a success. Is this next system going to be a flop? I don't know.
NES, great. SNES, great. N64, revolutionary.
Virtual Boy, though. Virtual Boy.
Oh, yeah.
You skipped the Virtual Boy. That's between SNES and N64.
The GameCube just feels like a more polished version of the N64.
The GameCube was a great system. It was a great system. It's just it had so many limitations that stopped it, especially with the small disc. It was hard for third-party developers to get their games on there.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Nintendo strives to be unique.
Yeah. Which kind of stabs them in the back sometimes.
Yes. But it also solidifies their monopoly they have. But I'm trying to think about what they could do with the next console, because I feel like Nintendo kind of perfected their brand with the Switch.
Yeah.
Because if I think about it, Xbox and PlayStation, all they got going on now is graphics and loading speed. But and half the time, you need certain TVs to do that anyway, especially the graphics. Like, the processing power of Nintendo consoles, I don't think will ever really compete with PlayStation or Xbox. Xbox is done making consoles. They've released that they're
done.
Actually? Microsoft is done. They're going, they're going off the market. Yeah. They're done with video game consoles.
The thing that's different about Nintendo...
if I'm not mistaken.
I don't
PlayStation, I'm pretty sure, is still going to produce them.
Yeah, they're going to.
Let me say...
How you
sorry
doing?
for my absence.
It's alright.
Sorry. Apologies. I'm back. I had things that prevented me from doing so. So hello, how you doing? I'd like to make my input on that. I am pretty sure I heard about the Xbox thing that you just said, that Xbox is going to try to go out with their last hurrah. Now PlayStation, they're coming out with different stuff because they're planning on coming out with the they already came out with like a modified PS Vita type thing, like a little handheld PlayStation 5. But I'm also hearing that they're planning, because like, you guys know what the PS Vita is, right?
I used to have one of those,
like
actually.
The PS Vita.
I think they're trying to they might make another one from what I'm hearing.
That's interesting.
But all I know is that they so far made a modified one. You have to hook it up to your PlayStation 5, and then you can play your PlayStation 5 from it.
The thing that makes Nintendo different from Microsoft and Sony is the fact that, like, with all of their new systems that they make, it's all just basically just improved hardware. That's basically all it is. Nintendo does something completely new every time. They enter motion controls, or they add a completely new feature. They've always been, the underdogs when it comes to power in the system. I mean, the Switch literally has 4 gigabytes of internal storage. What the actual heck? I mean, it's honestly sad.
That's insane to think about.
Yeah, it is. That's like
every other console nowadays. If it ain't a new console, it ain't got a terabyte on it. What are you doing?
No, the Switch. Yeah, the Switch is 4 gigabytes. You have to have an SD card to download a game on there.
I feel like how clunky and like the limitations the Switch have kind of like propels the marketing, because Nintendo's loyalists are willing to spend hundreds of dollars on improved. The Pokeball Plus Joy-Con was for Let's Go.
Yeah.
And it was $60, and you got Mew if you bought it.
I bought it. I bought it on launch day. I got Let's Go Pikachu Navy.
Exactly.
It was good.
They released Theme Joy-Con for the Legend of Zelda
Skyward Sword.
What was it?
Skyward Sword HD. I have those. Yeah.
They sold.
The thing about Nintendo is their exclusives are so good.
Never been fixed.
That's why they're
Joy-Con drift, and Stick drift is worse with Nintendo than any other game console I've ever played on.
Yeah.
And yet,
the Joy-Cons are just little gimmick things. But Nintendo, people get Nintendo systems for their exclusive games. You don't get a Switch to play a third-party game on that you can play on another system. You get a Switch to play Mario and Zelda games, stuff like that. Which Nintendo, when it comes to their first-party exclusive games, hits it out of the park. Because you can't play them anywhere, and you can't play them anywhere else but Nintendo. People get Nintendo systems to play Nintendo games.
And there ain't really much argument.
There's no argument.
So if you look at it, like when you have PlayStation exclusive and Xbox exclusives, there's always these two parties arguing like, well, can you come over my console, or then can it come over to PC and stuff like that? And there's really no argument when it comes to Nintendo.
No, they will never release it on anything else because they're stingy. Nintendo's so stingy.
Yeah.
Nintendo's very mascot driven. Like, Mario built Nintendo, basically. Like, Mario is their brand. Microsoft isn't a video game company. Sony is not a video game company.
Yeah.
They focus on hardware. They just take that and use third parties to, like, because exclusive like God of War, those are not made by Sony. They are just owned by Sony. Same with Gears of War. They are made by Epic Games, owned by Microsoft.
They own all these smaller companies.
Those are not made, like, Mario is made directly by Nintendo. I mean, obviously, like, Pokemon is made by Game Freak.
They have some other companies they use, like Retro Studios and Game Freak and things like that.
But, like,
Smash Bros. Isn't made in-house either. It's made by Sora Limited, which Sakurai founded.
But, like, Mario games, it's like, you could tell, like, the games that are, like, 100% Nintendo, and then the games that are, like, licensed by Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. Like Pokemon, like, you can tell is different.
Breath of the Wild, you can tell by the appearance. Like Pokemon games versus Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, it's
like Nintendo is willing to put so much money in games that they know that they'll be able to make, no matter how it is received, they will be able to make millions of dollars. Like Legend of Zelda, it doesn't matter if the game sucks. You slap Legend of Zelda on that title, I'm buying it. I don't care.
Yeah, they got their franchises. That's the thing they got. They keep pushing those out.
The thing about Pokemon is, for some reason, I've noticed they don't attack Nintendo. They attack Game Freak directly.
Yeah, exactly.
And they blame it on Game Freak. They don't ever, like, if there's issues with Zelda or Mario, it's
They hardly
Never
ever
talk about
associate
the people
Pokemon with Nintendo. They hardly ever associate it with it.
Okay, so forgive me if I'm wrong about this, but I've really never seen a flop when it comes to any Nintendo game. There's really nothing like that flop as hard as like any other game would, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean they definitely don't hit it out of the park every time. But
except I'll say Mario Sunshine kind of low-key sucks.
That's the worst 3D Mario game yet. Overrated, Sunshine. Anyways,
when it comes to Nintendo, it's all depending on how it's based upon you. Not everyone like you.
Well, yeah.
You might not like this one game, but this other person might fall in love with it.
Yeah, like people love Sunshine, dude.
That's okay, but then you have PlayStation games. Like, let's use The Last of Us 2. Everyone was expecting it to be good, and now it's split up between only people think it's good and only people think it's bad, where it's not made for someone who specifically wanted that game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, so getting back on track here with the actual announcement. Okay, we need to get back to talking about the actual announcement because we got on a rant there. So basically, they said this is going to be announced in the next fiscal year. Okay, so when do we think this thing is going to get revealed?
When was the original Switch revealed?
2017. Actually 2016. Actually.
What month?
October 2016.
I feel like it'd be around there.
I'm thinking that too. Because it said it's going to be announced sometime in this fiscal year, which is between now and March of 2025. It's going to be announced.
I think November. I think we're definitely going to hear something new, like at least something to give us the chew on, basically, at least by November, and we're maybe going to get an early look at what the console is going to look like, maybe March of next year.
That could be a thing, but a lot of the leaks have been saying that the system is going to release in March of 2025. A lot of the leaks originally suggested last year that it was going to come out holiday 2024, and that they've delayed it to March 2025, which this would line up great because if they announce it in October, that would give them a good 5 months between announcement and release. They could release it in March of 2025, but the tweet says nothing about it being released this fiscal year. It just says being announced. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be released. It just says it's going to be announced. And it's going to be announced later than June.
I think it would be cool because, especially since Facebook and Meta have bought pretty much a lot of the VR scene. If Nintendo would do something with a VR capability in the next console.
Yeah.
That is one, because Nintendo perfected motion controls, they perfected playability. You can play it anywhere. You can literally play it on the toilet.
Yep.
Prop that up.
You can play a game in one.
Literally the only thing that they don't got at this point is VR. I cannot think about anything else other than graphics and
Nintendo tried.
The thing about VR though, I feel like it's really risky to take that path because that could really dig them down into a bad hole.
Didn't Nintendo try?
If they make it a sole VR. They did a Nintendo Labo VR and that wasn't very successful. Honestly, I could see them toy around with it. Now I could see the next system almost certainly having some sort of VR feature. I don't think it's going to be the main premise because if they do that. They already did that with the Virtual Boy, so if they do that, they might be digging their own grave at that point. I think that's a risky path. But they've been working on it for years at this point. They had to have been. I mean, they have some strategic minds there. They're going to know. They're going to learn from their mistakes, and they're going to create something that's good.
To be fair, if you look at it, PlayStation, they got their own virtual reality, and then you have the Oculus. Does Xbox have anything like that?
Yeah.
Xbox does not.
And Nintendo's not as powerful. They can't make as powerful of technology to compete with the modern Oculus system things anyway. So I think them making a VR system is kind of a bad idea for them. I think it's possible that it could have a feature, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. If it is, then maybe, I don't know. But, yeah. So I think the announcement is going to be basically this June Direct that they've been talking about. They're still announcing games for this year, for 2024, on the Switch. So when these are coming out, we can kind of tell by the last release date of these games when it's going to come out. Because if they stop releasing games in 2024, it could definitely come out in spring 2025. But if they're still announcing games that are slated for 2025 on the Switch, that means the Switch 2, whatever, is probably going to come out in holiday 2025 at the earliest at that point.
You think Switch 2 would be the last Switch?
Wait, the Switch 2 is just what we're calling the next system. We don't actually know what it's called. That's just what everybody calls it.
Well, do you think that would be the last Nintendo console?
No.
No.
I don't think Nintendo's at any time soon.
Nintendo is making money, I don't think, because Nintendo has the most consoles out of any video game company.
Nintendo's not going to stop making consoles until they
take a hand lot, and they're dead.
I don't see Nintendo stop.
We're thinking October?
I'm thinking October for the announcement. March for the release, is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I will say,
that's my prediction, at least.
Nintendo has a habit of telling us that they're not going to give us any news, and then dropping some absolute heat in the direct out of nowhere.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think is still coming on the Switch? Because there's only one more year left. I think we could definitely get a new Mario Party game this year, because they've done those every 3 years since 2012. And so it break the streak this year. We're due for one this year. And it's a small game that could come out in the fall this year. So I feel like they're just going to release games just through the fall.
They don't have to be complicated.
Then announce
Mario Party can come out
like September or something like
I know
that.
they're talking
I'm not familiar on release date when it comes to Nintendo.
Legend.
So that's where I'm not really going to put my opinion.
Okay, fair. Legend ZA though, what does worry me? That does worry me. That I like that you bring that up, because if you look at the end of the trailer, that they announced that game back in February for Pokemon Presents. It says it's coming out in 2025, right? But it is a Nintendo Switch game. So that is kind of scary. But then again, it is Pokemon.
When they do stuff like that, is the console going to be delayed, or are they going to do what they
dual
did with
release?
Breath of the Wild?
It could do dual release. But at the same time, listen to this though. It is Pokemon. Pokemon released Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon mainline games on the 3DS over 8 months after the Switch was already out. The Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out in November of 2017. The Switch came out in March of 2017. So they could very well release Legend ZA after the Switch 2 is already out on the Switch. Because Pokemon does that all the time for their stuff. They released Pokemon Black and White the same month the Wii U came out.
Pokemon will always sell.
Yes. Oh, it'll still sell on Switch because the Switch has almost 200 million freaking users. I mean, it's crazy.
And the OLED is not an old console.
The OLED is not.
So
I don't consider the OLED to be its own thing. The OLED is just the Switch with a bigger screen. That's all it is. It's nothing.
No.
I don't even have one.
People still flex about it. Because if I have a regular Switch, like, well, I have the OLED model.
Who gives a crap?
I have. Well, dude.
I'd rather have a Switch Lite.
Like, okay, I have an Xbox One. I have an Xbox One S. Or like, I have a PS4. Well, I have a PS4 Pro. It's like, yo, you got one that's different. Or like, I have a PS3. I have a PS3
Slim.
You know, stuff like that.
So
yeah, that's yeah.
But Nintendo, when they release this thing, if it comes out in March 2025, I think in a dream scenario, they're going to try to repeat 2017. Because I think they're going to release 3D Mario at launch. I think that's almost guaranteed that that's going to be a launch title, is a 3D Mario. We haven't had a true 3D Mario game since Odyssey, almost 7 years ago. So I think we're overdue for 3D Mario.
We are due.
Yes. And then I think...
Do you think it's going to be Odyssey 2?
No, I think it's going to be... I honestly think... I mean, if I could get a sequel to any game, I'd pick Galaxy 3, but I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it's going to be something completely new.
We don't need... As much as I would love the Galaxy 3, we don't need that.
Here's the difference between, like, everybody thinks Odyssey 2 is coming out. Just because they do a sequel to one game doesn't mean they're ever going to do it again. Galaxy 1 at the end of the game actually set up for a sequel. So, there you go. Because the world was a completely new world. Like, the whole world just completely reset at the end of Galaxy 1. And it kind of put up for a thing. Anyway, I'm not going to go on that rant. Basically, I think they're going to release a new 3D Mario game. And then they're going to need to have games following in the months to come with more releases. Obviously, they're going to launch with a big Mario game, and I think that's all they're going to launch with. They're also going to need to have games coming out early on in the system's lifespan, and for that, I don't think we're going to get a Zelda game, because we just had Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think they're brewing up any big, crazy Zelda game anytime soon. Smash 6 is still way off, in my opinion.
That's the most important one right now.
Yeah.
Will that come out? Are you confident for that?
That's a good topic, too, because a lot of people think Sakurai's done with Ultimate, because it was the Ultimate Smash. I don't know how you top this one.
But I will say, if you release another Smash game on the new console, that will sell. Because Smash Bros. Is like the ultimate fighting game. Like, it's not, like Mortal Kombat is in its own world.
Yeah.
Smash Bros. Is like, yo, you got Mario fighting Steve now? Like, yo, what?
It's just, how are they going to top the Ultimate Smash? I mean, I think it's possible that they
release a new Smash. If you do release a new Smash to the new console, people might think you're just using Smash to get buys and get.
Other people know.
I don't think.
With Nintendo,
I just don't see it happening.
You don't gotta worry about that.
I think we're at least. I think the earliest Smash 6 to come out is gonna be like 2028 or something, like 10 years after Ultimate. What I could see them doing is just porting Ultimate over to the next system and adding to it, but creating a new Smash game is kind of tough, because how do you bring back all these characters again and then add more? You'll have over 100 characters in that game, which is crazy, and they have to get the licensing from all these companies. Like, it's crazy, because I think it's very unlikely that most of these third-party characters are actually going to come back. Like, the odds we actually have Joker and Sora actually back in the next game is very unlikely. And Kazuya.
They gotta make it. They gotta make it specifically to put Waluigi in.
Yeah, just Waluigi's the only character, and Mr. Rodish. Yeah.
No, I think it would be sweet if they had like a create a character type deal.
They could definitely do something like that. They're gonna have to completely change up the formula. That's the only way you can go from this high peak. Because I think almost if they try to do the same formula again, it's not going to be as good as Ultimate. Ultimate just perfected the genre. I don't know how you top that game. That was one of the greatest, most content-full games Nintendo has ever produced. Like, I don't even know how they're going to top that. And the fact that they made that game in 2 years just baffles me. Even though they did release DLC for 3 years after the game came out. It's crazy, dude. I don't know how they're going to top it.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah. That game came out in 2018. It's 6 years old at this point. That's an old freaking game. That's the same age the freaking Wii U was when that game came out. Smash Ultimate is older than Smash 4 was when Ultimate came out. It's almost, well, in like 4 years it'll be as old as Brawl was. In 4 years.
I think it might be a surprise release. If they were to do that, they'd make it a surprise release.
Yeah, maybe they'll release it early on, but what games do you guys think are going to come out early on in the next life cycle? Because we already touched on a 3D Mario. What about Mario Kart 9? Do you think that's possible early on?
I think that's a possibility, but Mario Kart 9 is another thing. I mean, Mario Party, Mario Kart, Smash...
It's certain that they're definitely going to have a Mario Kart on this next system, but we did just get done with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC last year. So it's kind of tough to say.
I mean, we didn't get a new Mario Kart on the Switch because Mario Kart 8 was on Wii U, wasn't it?
Exactly. So you think Nintendo has to have been working on something during this time, right? Something. Besides just the DLC for 8 Deluxe.
At this point, yeah.
With how well, because 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game on the Switch, it'd be a sin for them not to make a new Mario Kart the next system.
Yeah, because it doesn't really have to be different. We'll still play it. It's Mario Kart.
Oh yeah. I mean, I kind of want something new because I've been playing 8 for 10 years.
Mode? A double dash mode? Do you know what I'm talking about?
That'd be sick.
That would be crazy.
They need to do that. Mario Kart 9 has been my most wanted game for the last decade.
Oh, yeah. You think? I think we pretty much covered everything, right?
For the most part. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to say? Because I don't really know what else they could really release early on. Because we have the 3D Mario. I mean, Metroid Prime 4 is another one. Because that game has been announced for the last 7 years. It is a possibility that I don't think it's coming out on the Switch, guys. I just don't think it is. if we don't hear about it next month, we're not getting it on the Switch. It's very unlikely, but possible that they could still release it on the Switch. They could announce it next month and release it in like November. But that is really stretch. I don't think that's gonna.
I don't know. That is some especially on the next console. If they do make another Metroid game, they would 100%. Whatever.
The thing is, this Metroid game was announced 7 years ago, and we have heard nothing about it except for they announced they were restarting development in 2019, and we haven't heard anything since besides development's going smoothly.
To be fair, the same thing did happen with Cyberpunk. It was like announced like 11 years before it came out.
Holy shoot!
Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, that is true, but Cyberpunk flopped.
Yeah, Nintendo's not really the type of company that announces things years in advance. Usually they like to have their announcement to release cycle less than a year. Usually they do. It's not like Sony, where they'll be in 2019 announcing 2022 games, which is what they did.
That's what sucks. I hate that.
That'd be like them announcing 2027 game right now.
Like right now, how like GTA 6 isn't even deal to next year.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That thing's been in development since They said like 2014, 2015.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo doesn't take that long. They'll announce a game and usually release it within a year. Like even AAA titles.
If you think about it, Nintendo really doesn't make big games. I don't know how to say it without it sounding wrong, but like people like look forward to like another God of War game or another GTA game. People also look forward to another Nintendo game, but it doesn't come out on the same level as the other ones.
I get what you're saying.
Xbox and Sony games do.
Nintendo's always pumping them out. I mean, what if they were to announce Smash 6 right now and say it's coming out in like 2027? Like, that is just unheard of.
That's one of their bigger titles. That's definitely one of their bigger titles, which would make sense if people do.
If they're going to do that for any game,
like companies give a deadline, that's when things go wrong. You give yourself a strict deadline like that, it's game over.
But what they're going to announce, here's my prediction. October is going to be about the time they release the last couple Switch games. We're going to get like a Mario Party and maybe like a 2D Zelda remake or something like that. Or maybe a Donkey Kong game, because we're still overdue for that. And then in October, we're going to get the announcement of not only they're going to show an entire presentation, showing off this new system, and showing off the brand new 3D Mario that launches on it. And then they're going to talk about some other games that are going to come out early on in the lifespan. Like some small stuff, like, I don't know, maybe like a Mario sports game, like a Mario baseball game or something like that, something small that could come out
They have
early
to have
on.
to hold over for a big release. They have to do small games before a big release.
What they need to do is, they need to launch with a heavy hitter, though. Because here's what the Switch did, and I think they're going to do something similar to this. Switch came out in March of 2017 with Breath of the Wild, which is a huge freaking game, Zelda Breath of the Wild. And then later on, in the holiday season, they released Mario Odyssey. We got Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey in the exact same year. Two of the biggest games on the system. So what they could do something that, what I think could happen is they launch with a 3D Mario game in March of 2025. Holiday season, they come out with Metroid Prime 4. That's possible that they could do that.
That could work.
I think that's probably what I'm leaning towards right now. Because we're not getting a new Zelda anytime soon. We could get like a new Donkey Kong Country on the next system, which would look absolutely amazing. That could happen first year. I could see that
What
happen.
if they started introducing remakes, like of old like 8-bit retro games? They start remaking them into like a modern style.
They did that with this game, Mario RPG. This was an SNES game they released on the Switch. I actually haven't played this yet. It's actually still in the wrapper, but I just had it sitting here right as you said that. So they have already been doing that. But yeah, so that was funny.
That'd be something like, imagine like a remake of Pac-Man. Like if you could somehow work that out.
That'd be funny.
There's already a million remakes of Pac-Man.
That's how it works. But something like that.
Made by a big company. By a big company.
Hear me out.
I get it.
Hear me out. What if they do? Have you guys ever played Ice Climber on the NES? It's the game that Ice Climbers are from. What if they do an HD reimagined form reboot of Ice Climber on the next system?
That'd be crazy.
That would be freaking insane. Or what we also need a new Punch Out game, dude. That's what I want to see. Because
yeah, we do.
We had a Punch Out on the Wii, which was like a remake of the NES version. I want to see a new Punch-Out game. That's what I want to
Yeah.
see, man. That'd be so sick.
See, now this is what, like, as a people want. This would be a good thing people would want, and it definitely keep people playing the console.
Oh yeah, dude. Have you guys played Punch-Out on the Wii? Like, seriously,
Yeah.
you need to play that.
Yeah.
It is so good.
I played it on my NES, but not my.
It's the NES version on the
Yeah.
Wii. It is too good. It's better than it should be. Like, it's that good. Like, it is better than it should be of an NES remake. I think it came out in like 2009. I could also see them releasing maybe a Kirby game the first year. Because those are kind of small. And they pump those out like crazy. I mean, we haven't really had a new Kirby game since Forgotten Land because they've just released like a bunch of remakes of other Kirby games. So I could see them coming up with a new one of those. Donkey Kong Country is very possible. And I really hope that happens.
Yeah.
There's a chance that I feel like they're not going to do a Mario Party early on. They're probably going to do. I think the Switch is overdue for one more Mario Party because most of the time Nintendo systems have multiple Mario Parties on them. Like the GameCube had like 3 Mario Parties on it, like 4. It had Mario Party 4, 5, 6, and 7 on the GameCube alone.
Yeah.
So I think there's still another Mario Party game on the Switch. I think that's about all that could come out still on the Switch.
Yeah.
But for other games that I like, see, it'd be sick if they rebooted Ice Climber, but that's not going to happen. There's no way in heck that that's going to happen.
It's got to be a bigger game for them to reboot it.
Yeah.
Like something like
What is like an old type like NES game or something of that era that has not been remade since? F-Zero is one that comes to mind, which is the last of the GameCube. What is it?
Kid Icarus.
Kid Icarus is possible. Oh, people have been rumoring that there actually was a 3DS game called Kid Icarus Uprising, which was actually developed by Sakurai, of all people. And people have been rumoring that there's an HD version coming to the Switch, which I could see them announcing that in June and releasing it this fall. That would be actually really hype. Kid Icarus Uprising. Or we get a completely new game.
Because I have Kid Icarus on my NES.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. There's also like Excite Bike. That'd be interesting to see an Excite Bike game.
Excite Bike is crazy.
That would be something. I don't think that's likely, but that'd be something. Or like Duck Hunt. That's not gonna happen. That would be imagine that just a reimagined form of Duck Hunt.
Oh man, Duck Hunt, like the horror game version of it, that was
Whoa, what horror version?
Oh, yeah,
I've never heard of that. What?
There was a VR horror game made based off Duck Hunt.
Oh,
Hey, you haven't heard about that?
No.
You haven't, Trent? It is horrifying. It is horrifying.
I need to check that out sometime tonight.
Yeah, like
Maybe not tonight. Maybe I'll have nightmares.
there's a TV that you see the point of view of the dog, and it comes out the dog's looking at you through the window, and if you look at the window, the dog's standing there holding a knife watching you.
Yeah.
And then when you see it, it runs away. It's horrifying.
That's crazy. They could do something like that if the next system has like VR capabilities. What if they just brought back Duck Hunt and made it like they have like a horror version of old games? I mean, that'd be weird, but
Yeah.
you could do that.
You think they'd ever come out with full-on out horror games? Like you have Luigi's Mansion, but that's not
Luigi's
really a
Mansion's the
horror game.
closest they got, but I don't think I'd consider that a horror game.
Do you think they'll come out with horror games?
I don't know. It'd be an interesting thing for them to do because Nintendo. That's one of the few genres that Nintendo really has not gotten into is horror. I mean, they've gotten into everything else. I mean, they've gotten into even first-person or third-person shooters with Splatoon. But I think regardless of what comes out, this Mario game that I think they're going to launch with, it's almost certain they're going to launch with 3D Mario game. It's going to utilize whatever capabilities that this system has to its fullest potential. That's what the biggest thing is going to be on it. Whatever this new system has, we're just going to have a bunch of new features on it. And then the Mario game that launches is going to utilize those features in a very clever way because this is what Nintendo does. So,
I agree.
I just don't really know what they could do because it's hard for me to imagine that they could just go back to a home console after this.
Oh yeah.
But they could. But it's just really, I just don't see that happening. I feel like it's going to be Switch-esque. But I hope it's not. I kind of want something new. But I don't know.
Success of this, I feel like they'd probably use the success of the Switch to use that as like, you know what, people probably want to take it wherever they want to go instead of hooking it up to a
That's
TV.
true. And they do
I feel
say...
like
and the tweet that Furukawa sent out, the fact that you said the word success, the Switch's success, they used the wording the Nintendo Switch Successor in that tweet. So, which makes me kind of think that it's Switch-esque. Because they didn't just say our new console. If they could have just said our next console. They said the Switch Successor.
Exactly. So that would, but also that'd take it back to what we were talking about earlier, like how PlayStation and Xbox they'll just come out with a better version of itself.
This is what this probably is, a better version of the Switch. Yeah. It's a DS to 3DS thing.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to start doing with this.
Now, I hope they don't carry that on into the next generation. But maybe just for this next generation here. But if I don't want that to be their thing forever. But at least for like the next 6 or 7 years that this thing exists, they could do that. It's going to be like a DS to 3DS type of advancement.
Yeah.
Where it's completely way more powerful, but it's kind of like similar type of thing. With way more features.
Same body, different features.
Yeah, exactly. Way more features. I mean, I think it'd be crazy,
But I gotta wrap.
I got one more thing to say, though.
I gotta wrap it up on my end because I'm sitting and I gotta drive and there's a storm coming, so I gotta be departing soon.
All right, fair.
So I gotta wrap it up on my end.
Well, I think something cool they could do, because I was thinking about this, because you had the regular DS and then you had the 3DS. What if they did like a 4D feature, where you could be in a Mario game in a snow world and there'd be cool air coming out of some sort of speaker thing. There'd be cold air coming out.
That would be sweet,
sick.
but
I've
also
always thought of that.
expensive.
Exactly.
That would be expensive.
Well, you get bubbles coming out for the water stuff. That'd be so weird, but it'd be expensive. Yeah. Oh, I'll see you, son.
Bye.
Let me know. That'd be fun to do on a hot day. You're just sitting there, and on the beach or something on a hot day, and you just go to the snow world. Mario, just put the thing up to your face.
That would be insane, but that'd be an expensive extra piece, though. That would. Yeah, Yeah.
That would push the price up because they're gonna want to market this thing at $300. I think.
Now there are things kind of like that when it comes to smell. Like when it comes to PC games, you can hook up this little thing. And then when you hook it up, you can smell water, you can smell dirt, you can smell fire, you can smell burning flesh. It's insane. It's like a little thing. Fuse it up.
That'd be crazy. But I don't know how futuristic this system could be. I mean, it could just be something completely what we're not expecting. But they're going to take the Switch and go crazy with it.
We could be just expecting something completely more than what it actually is. Because it might just be a beefed up Nintendo Switch, or it could be something way bigger. You never know. You gotta wait till announcement.
It might not even be anything like the Switch. They might have just used that term, but I feel like when they use the word Switch Successor, it makes me think it's going to be a beefed up Switch. I think it's just going to be a beefed up next gen Switch type of system. I think that's what it's going to be.
That's what it's got to be.
You
think it's going to have do you think they're going to introduce a folding screen like those Samsung phones?
They could do something like that. I think the system is probably. I mean, it's kind of the Switch is already pretty big, but I think a bigger screen with obviously put it in 4K because I think the Switch is still in 1080p. We need at least a 4K system to compete. It's the 2020. Yeah. 1080p is not cutting it anymore.
Exactly, because when it came out, the new Mortal Kombat game when that came out, the graphics on it were so bad.
Yeah. So
bad. It's what was next gen video game on a previous gen console. It could not handle it. It could handle the fighting, it just couldn't handle the graphics.
Yeah, that's the problem too, because sometimes people make games too powerful for systems, and when you try to play them on there, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
And Nintendo has that problem a lot with their third parties, because almost all third parties. You try to run Ark Survival Evolved on the Switch, it's one of the worst things you'll ever play. I actually bought Ark on the Switch. Don't even play that game. Don't even.
You should make that a video.
There's 4 gigabytes of internal storage power on that thing. There is maybe enough power to render 1 T-Rex.
Maybe.
Maybe. That's a stretch. It's bad.
Yeah. So it's definitely got to be a beefed up Nintendo Switch.
And please, 128 gigabytes of internal storage, please. If they do 4 gigabytes again, I swear, Nintendo.
There's no way they're going to do 4 because it's
4 gigabytes. It's so bad. The Switch is 4 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Especially with how common it is nowadays for people to just digitally download games. I mean, I think Nintendo will still do physical cartridges. Oh, also, another thing is, this enhanced Switch, if it is an enhanced version of the Switch, it almost certainly will be backwards compatible with Switch games. Like, you could play Switch games on it, which would be very beneficial for launch that way, because a lot of systems struggle at launch with not having backwards compatibility. They don't have games to play on them. Like, I got this new system here. I got the new Mario game. That's all I can play, though. I have nothing else to play, so that'd be nice if you could hook Smash Bros. In, or like an old Switch game, into the new system to play it. I think that's possible. Yeah,
that a lot of games are introduced that, like how PlayStation 5, like you can I think you can backwards compatibility with the PS4 game.
That's nice.
I do know you can use a PlayStation 5 controller to play on a PlayStation 3.
Really?
Which is pretty sick.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I use that. I use my PlayStation 5 controller to play on my PlayStation 3.
You can play on a PlayStation 3 with a PlayStation 5 controller? That's really interesting.
Yeah, you just plug your PlayStation 5 controller into the PlayStation 3 and it plays. Wow. It's pretty insane.
A system you can play a 2020 controller with a 2006 system. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. It was pretty. But here's the thing, you can't play it on PlayStation 4. That's what's confusing.
Why?
I have no idea. It won't work on a PlayStation 4, but it'll work on a PlayStation 3.
Can you use PlayStation 3 controllers on the PS5?
No.
You can only go backwards.
Yes. Only backward.
That's weird, because Nintendo usually does that, but it's like only forwards. Like, you can play GameCube controllers on the Wii controllers on the Wii U, but you can't use Switch controllers on those.
Well, here's the thing. Like when it comes to PlayStation controllers, like they used to start out with this little crappy piece of plastic with buttons, and then they put joysticks in it, and then it completely bumped up from a PlayStation 3. When it got the PlayStation 4, they beefed it out and they put a big old button in the middle. And then when you got the PlayStation 4, like the PlayStation 5, they doubled the size of it, made the buttons bigger.
That's interesting too.
They just beef it up every single time it comes out.
Yeah. I like that we're on the topic of controllers right now, because we need to try to think too, because this is a new system. What are they going to do with controllers for the next system? Because I think
the joystick.
I think the Joy-Cons and the current Switch controllers will probably all be compatible with this system. But they need to do especially if it's a beefed up Switch. But they need to. I think what they're gonna do is, if it is a beefed up Switch, they're gonna make brand new Joy-Cons, like brand new types of Joy-Cons that are bigger, so they can fit in grown men's hands. You know, when we were kids, when this thing came out, we could actually use a Joy-Con. Now we're grown men. We got big hands now. We can't really hold these things. They're so little on their side. It's like, dude, you can't do this.
Like when we're at gaming club, no one wants to play with the Joy-Cons. Everyone wants to play with the controller.
Because it's not comfortable. So I think what they need to do first and foremost is, on these enhanced Joy-Cons, they need to make them bigger. They need to make the buttons bigger. They need to make the stick not have drift. Just 101. Yeah. That's what they need to do. And maybe make them more features. And they had an HD rumble on the current ones, and things like that, like a sensor. They could add a new feature to it. But for one, make them bigger, make the buttons bigger, make them actually comfortable to use. Because, like you said, at gaming club, no one wants to use a freaking Joy-Con because it's so uncomfortable to use.
Exactly.
It's a cool little gimmick, but it's not a good controller. I don't think the Joy-Cons is really that good of a controller. I'd much rather just use a Pro controller than a Joy-Con. But I do think the Joy-Cons are cool.
I think they did that, like they made it like a removable in hopes they didn't, the overall public, when they first released the Switch, wouldn't think it'd be more like the PS Vita. So they completely like split it in their own way. They made it Nintendo exclusive, and then overall they started producing the games, and that's when Nintendo Switch became its own thing.
It's all about the idea of like the Switch marketing. Like, it's the Switch. You can switch it from console to handheld, and you have two controllers on the handheld that you can take off and do multiplayer on handheld.
Yeah, I remember exactly like when they first announced. Like, I was young, but I remember when they first announced the Switch.
Yeah, you were in 5th grade. I was in 4th grade. He was in 5th grade. I was in 4th grade. I am a junior in high school now, and he's a senior in high school, and we still don't have the next system. He'll be graduated next week, and we still don't have the next system, and I'll be a senior in 3 months.
It's insane.
I was in elementary school when the Switch came out, and we still don't have the next system.
Hey, now it's coming out at least.
It is coming out now, finally.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in 2025. Hopefully.
Yeah.
We
All right, I think we got.
We'll wrap it up
we got
here.
every possible topic covered.
We got the controllers, we got features, we got release dates, we got games, we got it all. So, thank you guys for watching the reboot of the Waluigi Washers podcast. Hopefully we can start posting again more frequently. But yeah, I just thought we'd do an a podcast on this announcement that President Furukawa just tweeted out. Because it's pretty big news for Nintendo fans, as most of you probably are, so, like us. So, with that, I guess we'll see you guys next time, and have a good one.